What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jared. We're continuing with our top 10 lists of 2019, surprising, disappointing, the worst movies of 2019. But now we're talking about the best of the best of the best, the top 10 best movies of 2019. These are movies that everyone is talking about, including myself. But before I get into my top 10 best movies of 2019, what are some of your favorite, bestest movies of this year? Your top 10 or just a handful of movies if you weren't able to check out, every single movie, unfortunately, like myself. So let me know what your best movies of 2019 are in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's get into Number 10. Number 10 is going to be The Farewell. And this movie, I was debating if it should be number 10, number 11, so I rounded it up. And this movie was nothing short of delightful. Awkwafina in this role very much leads this movie. She guides this story. And also with the story being set in sort of real life, or this is a personal thing for the person that wrote this screenplay, and also a tradition that I wasn't familiar with. Very much kind of not telling... It's not the idea. It's the idea of death that actually kills someone rather than the illness, I guess. So it was this interesting concept tradition that I loved going through this movie, and I thought that this was going to be nothing but kind of an emotional roller coaster, crying the whole time. But this movie again has, dark, dreadful moments, but also these happy, almost celebrating life in a sense. There's one scene specifically where they're at a wedding, and essentially it's a fake wedding, but man, it's so much fun. It's endearing. The characters are perfectly, I guess, cast in this movie, and it's so much fun. So I would say that this is a must-see movie from the traditional level, but also the level of, emotional concept, it being based on a true story, and also these laugh-out-loud moments. Number 9 is going to be Endgame, the lead-up of all of these MCU movies, the 10-year roundup, starting at Iron Man, ending at, spoiler, whatever. But this movie, I think that the pure spectacle of this film grants it in the top 10 because they had such a lead up. They've never done this before. No film franchise has had this many movies lead up into this grand spectacle that completely lands. It does well to all of the characters, the main, core cast from the beginning. Each have their time to shine. There's emotional moments, there's laugh out loud moments, there's moments that you literally got up in your chair and are screaming, cheering at the screen. So Endgame is literally nothing short of a pure spectacle. The visuals, everything in this movie literally just lands perfectly, and this will probably go down in the next 50, 100 year century of a movie franchise doing something that no other franchise will ever be able to do. So Avengers Endgame landing at number 9. Number 8 is going to be Loose, and this is sort of under the radar, one that a lot of people did not obviously see or have kind of maybe slowly been watching on streaming platforms because I think it's on Hulu. And this movie, I think it's originally based on a short story or a play. I think it's a play actually, and I was blown away by what this movie was. Not only this mystery thriller aspects of the film, because I went into this expecting nothing. I didn't know what to expect, and I love a good mystery, I love a good thriller, and it is crafted perfectly to give you enough to keep the story going, but not enough to let you, or show the hand, I guess. The movie does not let you know exactly what's going on until the very end. But the main standout in this film is Kelvin Harris Jr.'s performance as Luce. My God, this guy took this. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to get nominated, but this is one of the best performances from an actor I've seen this year, because just in a scene you can see him flipping between these emotions of laughter, crying, upset, helpless. It's a very manipulative character, and he absolutely nails this role as this character. So I think his performance alone elevates this movie along with the mystery elements as well. Like, Loose is a movie you need to go seek out. Number 7 is Netflix's The Irishman, you know, the grand epic scale movie that apparently no one has enough time to watch, but they sit down and binge 8 to 10 episodes of a series. Doesn't make much sense. But this movie, Martin Scorsese teaming up with Netflix, giving him a budget to essentially do whatever the hell he wants. He made an epic mob movie. This is one of the best movies of 2019. Again, it is the longest movie of 2019, but the fact of bringing these old people, you know, De Niro, Al Pacino, Pesci, back into the fold, having them play themselves through essentially a 3-decade period is kind of insane on paper, but it absolutely works in this film. I will say there's a few hiccups with a fight scene on the curb and also some visual effects a little bit, but them de-aging these characters, them turning in these roles, Joe Pesci comes back into the fold perfectly. Al Pacino tones it down a little bit as Jimmy Hoffa, but he is by far a charismatic, intriguing part of this story, and De Niro riding through this whole film is something that I absolutely loved. And you know, it has the Scorsese flavor, the mafia look into these characters. It doesn't shy away from things, and it hits on these 3 decades and almost an alternate history take as well. And that's why The Irishman, I mean, a technical feat, just a directing feat and a film feat for Netflix as well. Number 6 is going to be The Joker, and we're getting back into that superhero genre. You know, Endgame hit at number 9, but Joker at number 6. This movie really kind of took that grand spectacle that we've been used to for about 10 years now for superhero comic book movies and really kind of toned it down, set it in this realistic setting, set it into almost a grittier, low-budget feel of this movie. A lot of people have been comparing it to Taxi Driver, King of Comedy. I haven't seen either of those movies, so I think that that's why Joker really stood out to me a little bit more. And man, what Todd Phillips was able to do in this movie, from the cinematography, the tone, the visuals, and also combining that acting talent from Joaquin Phoenix, these two came together and really created this Arthur Fleck character who turns to the Joker into almost this, it almost brings about a whole new genre or subgenre in the superhero comic book field. I would love to see more of these grounded, gritty type movies, and also I thought tackled mental illness in a way that the masses would understand. You very much see and almost borderline sympathize with this horrible person, but you can see how one bad day can really turn a character. And I think the combination of the two, and maybe getting a Joker 2 or something else in this world, Joker is one of the best. I guarantee that this might get a Best Picture nomination. It won't win, but this is definitely one of the best this year. Number 6 is Jojo Rabbit. You know, Taika Waititi, I was not familiar with him, and I've gone back and watched a few of his other things. Thor Ragnarok, even The Mandalorian. I love his style because it's hitting at like this, you know, seriousness, but also poking fun at the satire of the whole situation. And Jojo Rabbit, I didn't know if it was going to be insensitive, how he really tackled, you know, essentially World War II, the Holocaust, all of this stuff. But man, what he puts into this film and getting the performances from the people in this movie, he is so good at playing Hitler, but a satire cartoon version of this character. And believe me, this is one of the funniest movies of this year. It's laugh out loud, it's funny, it's endearing, but also on the spectrum, he balances it perfectly because we have comedic tones over here, but there's these emotional, like I was crying in this movie. He hits on the emotional seriousness of this event in history. And also Scarlett Johansson turns in maybe one of the better performances, I would say Marriage Story a little bit more, but she turns in a solid performance in Jojo Rabbit. And again, this dueling dynamic of comedy and satire, or comedy and emotional beats, really makes you crying and then laughing, and it's that, again, emotional roller coaster. Taika Waititi's Jojo Rabbit is a must-see of 2019. Number 4 is going to be Uncut Gems. You know, Adam Sandler teaming up with the Safdie brothers. I knew what they had done with Good Time. I'm not familiar with anything that they've done before, but getting this performance out of Adam Sandler is insane. You know, the guy doing Jack and Jill, Grown Ups 1 and 2, Ridiculous 6. You know, there's a lot. The last decade, Adam Sandler has been this kind of just a comedic person that's not landing for people, but getting this, reeling it in almost into this dramatic, just serious role in this movie is the highlight of this film. Adam Sandler by far just drives this movie. It is manic, it is filthy. The visual style and storytelling from the Safdies is really, you know, it's gritty, it's down to earth, and it is, again, filthy. Like, this movie keeps you going the whole movie. It is anxious, it is anxiety driven, and the way this character goes through this story, trying to set up all of these little things where if one thing falls through the cracks, nothing else works out, it, as an audience member, gets you anxious, gets you stressful. And not only that, but the like 80s synth score dives into the kind of the dread and just horrible situations this character can get, but also into like this borderline fairy tale optimistic storytelling elements of the movie. Like, this movie was 2+ hours of just anxious, amazing filmmaking. Hitting at number 3 is Ford v Ferrari. And again, I'm not a big car person, so I didn't know how much appeal Ford v Ferrari was going to have for myself. And Matt Damon and Christian Bale, their chemistry throughout this movie is what really kind of is the core and makes you laugh, makes you smile, and almost ramps up that intense feeling of, are they going to win this race? Are they going to survive this crash? Is this movie going to go where I think this movie is going to go? And I think the story, almost telling history, is another point of view, because I wasn't aware of this Le Mans 66 and how there was a fight between Ford and how they could essentially have gone bankrupt. I didn't know any of that, so I love the kind of history-telling elements of this movie, but the main draw is the way that the cars, the driving, the action was filmed, along with the sound design, and I guess the overall experience. Like, this is a movie that needs to be seen with big sound, in a big theater, on a big screen, because the driving sequences get you in that driver's seat. It is intense, and it feels like you can feel the vibrations from the movie. You can feel the sound of this movie. So Ford v Ferrari, I wanted to put this almost higher on my list, but there's a few that snuck by. Ford v Ferrari, though, man, it is again, emotional, fun, just, you know, Christian Bale's character is so endearing in this movie, and I think that that's why this is hitting so high for myself. Number 2 is going to be Parasite, and coming from Bong Joon-ho, I was not familiar with anything that he had done previously. Maybe actually Snowpiercer. That's the only film I had watched, and I had seen it once, and I was like, this is weird, this is different, I like this. But this movie, I had been hearing fantastic things from, but a little bit of a turnoff because it was a foreign film. I don't like subtitles, I can't read. Went by, the subtitles, you are drawn into this movie, so the subtitles don't even affect you in this film. And I didn't know what to expect from Parasite. I knew that it started off with these despicable people, it's borderline this heist, you know, duping comedy type movie. And the characters, they're back and forth, the dialogue is so sharp that it really gets you, again, engulfed in this film and drives you along. And then probably halfway through this movie, it completely flips and almost does this weird, maybe 2 different times in this movie, it's a genre bend. It starts in this genre, goes into this one, and goes into a completely different genre. So, like, this movie, in a weird roundabout way, hits on every spectrum of a movie. You know, you have a comedy, you have a thriller, you have a mystery, you have a horror film at some points. And I cannot believe, like, even the ending of where this film went, I did not expect it, and I was blown away by this film. Again, this is very, very close to my top movie. This is obviously hitting at number 2, but man, Parasite is a film everyone and anyone needs to seek out, because not only the filmmaking aspects, like the cinematography, is fantastic, but the script and how they did this movie, how on the paper it probably made no sense, and how it was translated to the big screen is phenomenal. And hitting at the #1 spot is Britney Runs a Marathon. And this one, some people might be a little confused by because they either hadn't seen it or they're like, there's plenty more movies better than this out there. But this one, not only is it a fantastically well-crafted movie, but Jillian Bell turns in a fabulous performance as this main character who starts here, finds out she's very despicable, unlikable, her life is kind of fleeting from her, and then goes on this journey to essentially redeem herself. I love that transformation of this character, and I don't know how much of the actual weight loss she did, but she looked phenomenal in this movie with the transformation as well. But this one really hit a certain chord with myself because it felt very relatable. It felt like I was wasting my life and I saw this and that, and maybe a character pops up as a friend that is very selfish and not there for you. Like, this movie really hit me on a different level because I related so much to this film. And not only that, is it kind of crafted as a comedy drama. I mean, there's laugh out loud moments. Like, Jillian Bell, her comedic timing is perfect in this film. But man, probably the last like 20 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know, there's a lot of this movie that I was just trying to watch the movie through just teary eyes, snot pouring down my face, and I did not expect that from Britney Runs a Marathon. This was a very emotional movie for myself, and again, it's not a movie that many people have probably even seen, but this one is... The second I saw it, I knew that this was going to be my top movie of the year. It's the only movie I've ever given a 5 out of 5 for. And this one almost is that kind of special piece of me now because I don't know, Britney Runs a Marathon, I don't know what it was about it, but I absolutely adore this film. So that's my list of top 10 bestest movies of 2019. Those are some movies that literally, after walking out of the theater, they completely stuck with me, and I've rewatched a handful of times now. What did you guys think of my best of 2019 list? Are there some big ones that I missed? Are there some ordering that you are not comfortable with? Are there some, what's your top 10 of 2019? Let me know in the comments down below. This movie, or this year, had a ton. I could have made it top 20 because there are so many fantastic movies that came out this year and so many that I didn't even mention in this video. Anyways, though, thank you so much for watching. Watch some more videos up there, movie reviews, trailer reactions, fun comedy skits. I'm rounding out. I think there might be a few more most anticipated and then a few more of the decade videos, but then we're going to get into January back to sort of the normal schedule. Follow all of my social media, click that subscribe button, like this video, share this video out. Thank you so much. I love film. These are my favorite movies. Until next time, I'll see you later.